Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah Palmer. I'm the Permission to Choose speaker and coach. And I am here because Dr. Jen and I had a conversation recently. She is my chiropractor. Love her. And she and I had a conversation recently about how we're all handling what's going on in the world, all of the different ways that we can get stressed, we can get overwhelmed. So if you are somebody whose life is going really well right now, like no bumps, no roadblocks, no obstacles, this probably isn't going to be a useful video for you. So, feel free to go live your stressless life. Okay, for the rest of us, hi, welcome again. I'm Sara Palmer, the Permission to Choose speaker and coach. And I speak to and work with folks who are feeling incredibly overwhelmed, who are high achieving, who get stuff done, but are just finding that at this point in their life, either because of what's going on in the world or what's going on around their own house or even in your own head, things aren't the way they should be. And you're really frustrated, you're overwhelmed, and you don't exactly know what to do. Well, that's why I'm here today. I want to share with you something called the 1-minute miracle method. It's a 5-step, incredibly simple process that is dialectically behavioral therapy based, so DBT based. It is proven. I've worked with thousands of people on the 1-minute miracle method, and the results that I'm seeing are pretty much instantaneous. If I'm meeting with somebody at 7 o'clock on Thursday, by noon on Friday, they're already emailing me saying, oh my gosh, I've used this twice. This is incredible. This is going to change everything. Now let's get into what is the 1-minute miracle method. But before we get to that point, I need to bring us back to 2012. I have a 2-year-old toddler. We've just gotten back from a family vacation away. Her dad, my then husband, wasn't able to come with us. And upon arriving back, he told me that he had, under the influence of alcohol, engaged in some really inappropriate behaviors. And I was heartbroken. This, unfortunately, wasn't new to our marriage at that point. Things had been going in that direction for a long time. And also, he finally said, I think this is too much. I think I need to get some help. And I was overjoyed. I was so excited. We were finally going to get the happily ever after that we sign up for, right? Except by the time he got home from work the next day, he told me that what he had done wasn't that big of a deal, that he wouldn't do it again, and that the money he had spent, and it was over $2,000, he would replace just by working some extra at work, getting some overtime in, and that he couldn't miss work. So there was no way that he could go away to an inpatient rehab and get some help. But he also said he didn't want to get help locally either. And I stood in front of him with our toddler daughter, poking around on the floor and playing. And I did something different than I had done probably for years in our marriage, but definitely the first time in a long time. I didn't say anything to him. Now, I know for some of you that's not a big deal. Okay, somebody says something that's really overwhelming, really disappointing, and you don't say anything. That's totally understandable, but even in the short amount of time you've been listening to me, do I sound like the type of person who keeps my opinion to myself? Probably not, right? But at that point, even though I knew that his decision would have major impact on everybody in our family, I chose to not say anything. And that for me was the first time I ever practiced the 1-minute miracle. Okay, so what is the 1-minute miracle, Sarah? Cool, we're back in 2020 now, what, right? So let me go over the 5 steps for you. It's not an industry secret. There's no big words. Everything you're going to hear makes sense. Are you ready? Okay, so step 1 in the 1-minute miracle, in any situation that you're in, any decision that you need to make, step 1 is to Name your first thought. What was it that you were going to do anyways? As an example, when I was standing in the living room with Mike and he said, he's fine, no big deal, not getting any help, my first thought was, oh no, you are kidding me. No, I am going to tell you exactly why that's wrong, exactly what you need to do, exactly how much you're disappointing me. Take a look at our daughter. Won't you do that for her? I had an entire script because we had played this scene out smaller and smaller ways for a long time. So my first thought was to convince him otherwise. Let's make a smaller example as well. Let's say it's 11:30 at night. It's pretty quiet in the house and you're standing in front of the fridge. What's your first thought? Pint of Ben & Jerry's peanut butter cup, please, yes, and thank you. That's my first thought. That was what I was going to do in that situation anyway. So I want you to stop for a moment and think, okay, with some situations that I have going on in my life right now, what's one thing that I would automatically do in that situation? Kids are around at home all the time now. Maybe you are having some issues with a partner. Maybe work is really overwhelming in a lot of different ways. Think of one situation. And then I want you to think of your first thought. Step one, what is the thing you were going to do anyways? Cool. Okay. Step two, so step one is name your first thought. Say what it was you were going to do anyways. That's our instinct. And instinct isn't bad. Instinct is why I'm here today. Instinct told me jumping off a cliff when I was 7 and we went to a really tall place was a bad idea. So instinct has a place, but unfortunately, sometimes doing the same old things doesn't get us new results, you know? Step two, find a second thought. All of us have things we want to work on. All the things I just named. Getting along with my kids and helping to guide them better. Communicating with my partner. Finding my way through this new normal at work. Maybe it's learning how to get better sleep for myself. We already know the things we want to work on. Nobody needs to tell us. And we've almost all of us done some research on what it is we would want to change. So for instance, if I want to get better sleep at night, I've probably watched some YouTube videos. I've probably read a blog or two. I've probably gone on to Pinterest and looked for better sleep techniques. I've done all the work. And guess what? I have a list of things that I would want to do. And those are in my recipe box. My recipe box is the things in my head that I want to try. I've already said, yep, I could do those, but I just never let myself do it. There's nothing in my recipe box I wouldn't want. For instance, I hate mushrooms. Sorry, people who like mushrooms. I hate mushrooms. There will be no mushroom recipes in my recipe box. The same way that if I'm reading up on better sleep, and one of the hints is make sure you get to bed by 10 o'clock every night. That's a mushroom recipe. I love staying up super late. I am not going to bed anytime early. So that isn't going to be in my recipe box. I already said no thanks. But sleep in as dark a place as possible, you got me on that. I like me a good tomb. So that goes into my recipe box. That's something I would have done. So if step one is to name your first thought, step two is to find a second thought. Give yourself 3 to 5 seconds. That's it. And pop into that recipe box and find another thought, something else that you could see yourself doing. You already found it. You already liked it. It's already in the box. You just never gave yourself a chance before. With Mike in the living room, my second thought was, don't say anything. That was my second thought in my recipe box. You don't have to say anything right now. Standing in front of the fridge, my second thought might be either just go to bed, Sarah, you're probably tired. Or it might say, you know what, you want something cold, you want something sweet, but you know that Ben & Jerry's is gonna mess with your digestive system all night. Maybe get some coconut milk yogurt. You have it, it's already in there. Throw some frozen fruit in, throw a little granola for some crunch, boom. It's cold, it's sweet, but it's not the ice cream. So step one, find your first thought. Step two, find a second thought. So step one, name your first thought. Step two, find a second thought. We good so far? Awesome. Okay. I want you to think of what is a second thought in that situation from step 1 that you already came up with. What's another thing you could do? Okay. Step 3. Ready? Pick one. That's it. Pick one. Okay, Sarah, you say you are the permission to choose speaker and coach. What are you exactly giving me permission to do here? I'm giving you permission to pick the first thought. That is an option. A lot of times when you work with coaches, personal development coaches, self-care coaches, if you take classes, they really insist that you need to pick the second thought. And that's true, that's great. But you know what? The first thought isn't bad. It's just your first thought. Up until now, you were going on autopilot. All step 3 asks you to do is just pick it intentionally. So if I'm standing in front of the fridge and I really do want that Ben & Jerry's, I can pick the Ben & Jerry's. I don't have to feel guilt or shame. I don't have to suddenly look up and I'm sitting on the couch and I'm 2/3 of the way through the pint going, oh my gosh, why did I do that? That is not going to sit well. No, if you pick it, you have power over it. It's intentional. It's on purpose. If you want to choose your second thought, that's a great option too. Yay, you're trying something different. But the whole point of step 3 is to empower yourself. I mean, how many of you really feel like you have power over most of the things in your life? And if you do, that's wonderful. That's awesome. Please share with somebody you love how to do that. For most of us, we have power over ourselves, and that's it. So being able to feel comfortable with the decisions we make, that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. If my step 1 was to yell at Mike, then I chose it. It was on purpose, not by accident. It didn't happen to me. I was in charge. In that case, I chose my second thought. I decided not to say anything because at that point, there was nothing useful to say. Now, where did I come up with that idea? Because Mike had a problem with drinking, I went to Al-Anon. That's for the family and friends of people with a drinking problem. They say alcoholics, but nobody has to say they're an alcoholic. The person who's drinking doesn't. I certainly don't get to. But if I have a problem with somebody else's drinking, no matter what they say, then I can go to Al-Anon because the people there don't tell me what to do. Wasn't that a relief? They just shared what was going on with them and the solutions that they were trying. So they said, oh, and when my father did this, then I said that. Or when my daughter did this, I tried that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't, but we're sharing what is a solution, not just what the problem is. And by going to Al-Anon, I'd only been going for a couple months back in 2012. I had some different things in my recipe box. And one of them was, you don't have to say anything at that exact moment. And I tried it and it worked. It absolutely worked. We ended up separating because we decided that together we weren't a good pair. Now we co-parent our kid who's going to be turning 10 soon now. And we co-parent wonderfully because I was able to practice that first thought, second thought, pick one. And I was able to do that over and over again whenever things came up. Those were high stakes situations. Having conversations with your then partner and then the person you're divorcing and then your co-parent, those can be tricky, but the 1 minute miracle made it work. Now, if I'm standing in front of the fridge at 11:30 at night, I can choose whether I want the Ben & Jerry's or whether I want the coconut yogurt because I just wanted something cold and sweet. Both of those are good choices. I don't have to blame myself for picking one. I get to be proud of myself for choosing one, right? It was on purpose. So Sarah, great. You said this is the 1 minute miracle. How long did the first 3 steps take, right? Well, 1 second to name your first thought, 3 to 5 seconds for your second thought, and a couple more seconds to pick one. So we're looking at 7 to 10 seconds. I know you're like, okay, Sarah, that doesn't even round up to a minute. So why is it called the 1 minute miracle? Well, let me tell you why. The last 2 steps, those are our maintenance steps. Those are our strengthening steps. Step 4 says hit your HALT, TM. So HALT is an acronym in the self-care and 12-step recovery communities where we talk about the basics of keeping ourselves steady. And it's ready, these things: HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I had a sponsor, so I would call my sponsor, and the first thing she would say is, "Hey, Sarah, how's your HALT? Are you hungry? Are you angry? Are you lonely? Are you tired?" If I'm any of those things, I am going to struggle with making decisions. And I'm probably just going to go with my first thought automatically, not even give step 2 and 3 a chance. I realized over time, though, that it was missing 2. So I still have HALT, but I added a little T and a little M. It looks like trademark, but it's not. The little T is for thirsty. I can't tell you how many decisions I would have made differently if I just would have had some water. And M stands for meditation, medication. I know a lot of people say, well, Sarah, why not just make M for mindset, right? Because that's what it is, isn't it? Yes, but mindset has gotten taken over and monetized. Basically, mindset sounds like a whole bunch of people saying, if you didn't buy these $140 yoga pants or go on this 2-week retreat to Fiji, then sorry, you can't be calm in your head. And I disagree with that. So mindset for me is meditation, finding calm in your head and finding ways to do that that don't cost money, and medication. Nobody tells an insulin-dependent diabetic that if they just smile more, that they'd be fine. And for some people, diet and exercise is a huge help. But for a lot of us, our brains have chemicals that we make too much of or not enough of, or they go the wrong way down a one-way street. And the point of medication is to make your brain work the way it's supposed to. So I advocate both for meditation and for medication. And in step 5, we practice every day. That's a thing that a lot of adults forget whenever they're talking and teaching. Lots of people in the self-care industry give us these amazing programs. Do this and never miss a moment of your child's life again. Okay, but how? So they tell you these great systems and then they wave and they kind of leave and you're left going, hi, my day is already 120% scheduled. How am I supposed to fit this new thing in? I can barely do the old thing, right? Well, the whole point of the 1-minute miracle is it's something I want you to be able to do with no problems at all. So I teach you how to build in 1 minute of practice every day. You know what? I have a group coaching program and we go much farther into each step each week. We talk about legacy. We talk about our own personal histories and how that has an effect on how you make decisions now. We have practice exercises. We have a Facebook community. But I'm going to give you one of the secrets I share in step 5, and I don't normally do this, so listen in. All of you have a phone, even if it's a flip phone. So all of you have a calendar and all of you have a clock or an alarm. What I want you to do is I want you to set an alarm for tomorrow at a certain time, like 10 in the morning. And I want you to set it to repeat every 3 days, forever, never ends. And then I want you to set an alarm for 2 days from now. And I want that one to be sometime in the afternoon when you normally know there's some stuff going on around you. And set that for every 3 days. And then I want you to set an alarm for 3 days out. And I want you to set that for an evening time. And I want you to set it for every 3 days. And I don't want it to ever end. And I want you to put something on there. The little heading should say something like 1 minute miracle practice. Or Sarah says, you've got this, 1 minute miracle. And by doing that, you are going to get a chance to practice mornings, afternoons, and evenings, the 1 minute miracle in situations where nobody even knows what's going on. Let me give you an example. Your alarm goes off because you've set it, because you want to actually succeed with this. And by the way, feel free to pause this video and set those alarms before we keep going. Or pause it afterwards before you get up and keep scrolling, and then keep listening. I want to make sure that this is something you actually walk away from this video already doing. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, your alarm goes off, you know, slide it off, boom, and you look up and you're at a Zoom meeting for work. And the person who is presenting has her whole spiel. She's talking through whatever the important part of her report is. And you, for the 1 minute miracle practice, you don't tell everybody, hey, everybody, I'm about to do the 1 minute miracle. You just practice it nice and quiet in your own head. And you go ahead and go, here's where I am. There's no problem that needs to be solved, but let me just run the 3 steps. Let me give myself a little practice. So step 1, I look at the person presenting and the first thought is, oh my God, her eye makeup is terrible. Did an emo teenager that's sad do her makeup? That's, oh my gosh. If I looked like that, I would just like, whoops, my camera's not working today. Oh, I should probably just put my name up there. That's my first thought. Judgy McJudgerpants. Let's do step 2, find a second thought. I'm going to go into that little recipe box and I'm going to go, oh, Sarah, there is you recognizing the fact that we have been taught that if somebody's makeup isn't exactly the way it's supposed to for their age and for their time of year and for their personal hair coloring, then it's not worth something paying attention to what they say. Okay, that's my second thought, recognizing that, wow, I'm being judgy for no good reason. And then step 3, I pick one. You know what? Maybe I'm feeling salty that day. Maybe I have had a rough day and I'm sticking with step 1. I'm like, you know what? Boom, judging, don't like her makeup. Or maybe I go, ooh, that is a good point. I'm being a little rough on her. I'll go with the second thought. Just, how about I just listen to what she says? Because she's had some good ideas before. And then boom, it's been 1 minute. You practiced it. You go on with your life. Nobody knows. When you get a chance to practice for 60 seconds every day, then you are building neural pathways with a different decision-making process. And then whenever that big issue comes up where you do need to kick it into gear, wherever you and your partner are having that fight, one of the old standbys that they say this thing and you say that thing, and it's a nice long fight, never gets fixed. It's just what you do. It's the dance nobody wants to dance. And they say this one thing, and you know if you say this other thing, you get like another 20 minutes of fight. And instead, you can do the 1 minute miracle because you've practiced it so much that even though it's a high emotion situation, you're used to it by now. And you can decide, do I want to keep this going or do I want to try something different? And you get to be in charge. It's pretty amazing. The 1 minute miracle has worked for thousands of people. It helps with your own personal decisions. It helps with relationships with family and loved ones. It helps to set boundaries with people. It helps so much in work situations, both in your own personal goals and how you get along with clients, how you get along with coworkers, how you get along with supervisors. At the end of the day, there is not a single situation that you cannot apply the 1 minute miracle. Now, I've had some people say, but Sarah, what if I'm not ready to make a decision? Do I have to make a decision? Like, is it, okay, well, pick one. That is an excellent question. And I want to make sure we're clear. Sometimes your second thought is, I need more time. First thought, got to pick something. Second thought, give me another day on this. And then step 3, you pick one. So no, I'm not saying that every decision in your life needs to be made in 7 to 10 seconds from now on. I'm saying that giving yourself a chance to think some more, to get more information, that is a wonderful second thought. And you should absolutely choose that when it fits in a situation. I am Sara Palmer, the Permission to Choose speaker and coach. And I have been running this program for longer than I can remember. And I wanted to share with all of you at Hershey Family Chiropractic because it's so simple, right? There's nothing I said that's difficult or tricky. None of it costs money. You don't have to buy those yoga pants I was talking about. It's just something that you can put into place. Any age, any gender, any sexual orientation, any socioeconomic status, this really is universally applicable. It is even applicable for folks who have mental disabilities, as long as they are able to hold two thoughts together and then choose from one of those thoughts. Maybe it takes more than 10 seconds, but it is certainly an absolutely applicable method that really works. Now, if you look down in the chat, they're going to be adding, or in the comments or in the caption, they're going to be adding a free link to a 1-minute miracle guide. So it's a little more about what we talked about right now. It is 100% free. It is chatty, because that's how I am, I'm chatty, but it's super useful for actual human beings like you and me. If you're interested, I want you to click on that, grab the guide. If you have any questions, there's a way to contact me on the back of the guide if you want a nice long conversation with me. You can also drop a question in the chat. I will be certainly following and answering. And if you want to, as the kids say, slide into my DMs on Facebook or Instagram, I'm at Sara Palmer Speaks with no H, S-A-R-A, Sara Palmer Speaks on Instagram, on Facebook, even on LinkedIn. Yes, everywhere. And I'm always interested in how it's working for you, what questions you have, and how I can help you make decisions that empower you, that give you back your confidence, and that keep you in the world. You don't have to run away and live in the woods in order to be in charge of yourself. You can do it right here where you are right now. And I am so excited that I get to help you do that. And a special thanks for Dr. Jen and everybody at Hershey Family Chiropractic for recognizing that something this simple is too good to keep to myself. And I'm so glad I was able to share it with you. Looking forward to hearing back from so many of you, and excited for you to put this 1-minute miracle into place and see the amazing results that you're going to have. Thank you so much, and I'm sure I will catch all of you again very soon.